going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And for those of y'all who know me, some of y'all may know. For those of you who are just now tuning in and are new to the channel, you probably don't know, but my wife and I are going to be having a little kiddo come November, and we felt what better way than to share it on the channel, share it with y'all, obviously directly sharing it with friends and family. And what better way to do it than to utilize the hot rod that this channel has kind of somewhat been built around. So right now, as you can see, got the car in the trailer. I'm actually headed back to the shop as we speak, and I'd be lying to you if I told you that this is really the way that I wanted the video to roll out, and this is really the video that I wanted to roll out, that we wanted to roll out. Originally, you know, we were hoping for this big nice reveal and bringing it to the channel, putting a cool video together, you know, hanging out with friends and family and stuff like that, and or this video being, you know, kind of that hoorah video that we talked about and excitement for the completion of the car. But it's not, and I'd also be lying to you if I told you that the thumbnail and the caption or the title of this video wasn't a little bit of that clickbait, if you will. So we hope, for those of you who are watching, and those of you who are new to the channel, you stay tuned in, because I believe this is a great message for everybody, and just wanted to share kind of what transpired over those last couple days and the reveal, and a couple days prior leading up to that reveal. But either way, for those of you who are new, we ask that you like, share, subscribe, hit that little notification button. We're blessed to have you a part, and we're blessed that you're watching this video. So without further ado, I'll get right into it. So leading up to the reveal on Saturday, last Saturday, which when this video rolls out was the Saturday of July 16th. But leading up to that, on Thursday, we actually had the car. I dropped the car off out at Larry's on Wednesday, and just to get everything kind of finalized, the suspension, the ride height is going to run through the front end alignment that Dad and I had done or set up, and just make sure that everything was right, put something in the car, and make this thing happen on Saturday. So I ended up taking a half a day on Thursday and rolled out there, because virtually, you know, I want to be hands-on with everything when it comes to this car, and the tuning part of things is where I really need the most help. So I just wanted to be out there grasping anything that I could, and quite a few things came up. So the toughest pill to swallow with all of this is the fact that we came to the conclusion that we're not going to be racing this car this summer. And you know, there are a lot of things from a safety perspective that kind of came up, and you know, this car has gone through a few transformations throughout the process, throughout the last, you know, multiple years that we've been building it, and it's gotten more and more significant, more and more gnarly, and with that, obviously, changes have to take place, especially from a safety perspective. So I just want to share that with y'all, and we're going to flop over to the shop here, and I'm going to kind of run through all the different things that we're going to have to change rolling into this winter to get it ready to rock and roll for next year, next season. So what we're looking at here is, it's kind of tough right now. I got this board here underneath the, in between the lift here, and it's sitting under the tires, so I can't really get up in here all that great. So I'll just kind of run through here as best I can. But starting out from, I guess, the back, if you will, here, we actually have to cut out the 4-link brackets for a couple of reasons. The first one being that the metal is actually not thick enough gauge, thicker on that, and just to also allow to give us a little bit more adjustment, and from a bracing perspective as well, bare minimum to put 4 different bracing points in that 4-link. So one coming over here to the side, and then one kind of coming down at an angle, and then we'll take a few into the cab there on the 4-link brackets. So we'll have to cut that out, get ride height, all that good stuff, and figure out what 4-link brackets that we're going to be utilizing there. And then also with that will come bigger 4-link bars. And then we're actually going to be swapping out the rear end housing, changing all that. Actually, just from a structural perspective and strength perspective and a adjustment perspective, we don't have everything that we need here. These actually need to be flipped around on the wishbone so we can keep it from tailing back and forth. And then here we just don't have a lot of strength and adjustment if we come down here on these 4-link bars on the bottom hole. So the next rear end housing that we have will once again have a lot thicker gauge metal, and we can also get some more adjustment. Probably honestly going to be running new struts all the way around this car, if not right out the gate at some point. Strange is great, has great products, so I don't know. Either way, we might be changing that out too, not right out the gate, but virtually. And then with that, we don't know. So first off, you're watching the video, you're looking for a brand new beautiful transmission housing and potentially even a third member, and I don't know, we might just depend on the deal, we might change some stuff up, we might just get out from underneath everything if somebody's interested in that. But either way, brand new beautiful rear end housing and some other components potentially, but we're running 430s in the rear end. Once again, we've changed a lot over the years, and yeah, it would have been great for the quarter, but I don't know. From an eighth perspective, we'll see. We'll obviously be fast either way, but it could be something that if we come up with a deal, it might be the time to sell it now because all this stuff has never been used. So we got that, and we're actually probably gonna go ahead and just remove the puke tank up top, and just for added room. And I think we got a battery box over here inside the trunk there that we might just go ahead and utilize some of the bracing there that we're not using for a battery. And then we've got brackets up there now, so I might be able to convert that into some added weight bar type of deal. We'll see. Up to the front, well, let's just get this thing down. So up front, we're going to be running, just once again from a ride height perspective, we are actually going to be right out the gate changing the spring on it just to get this front end just a little bit lower. So we got to change the spring on the struts that we currently have. Once again, not sure, we may end up switching out on struts at some point as well. And then we're going to put the adjustable strut cups, if you will, up here on the top on the strut bar. And originally we kind of discussed doing that when chassis was getting built, but from, once again, a money perspective, we're doing all this at once. It was just kind of a tougher pill to swallow because it is a pretty expensive change and option. So we didn't go with it right out of the gate. Wish we would have now, but it is what it is, and we're gonna go ahead and add that now. And then also, I think most of y'all know, but we are oiling quite a bit on the turbos. We get some excess oil that comes down in the exhaust and comes out the side, and kind of oil down in here. Usually when the car's running, it's not oiling at all, but sometimes you get some lingering oil in there that will come out, and it's just kind of annoying. Stuff shooting out the exhaust all over everything that's sitting around and whatnot. But either way, that's just due to the fact that when we mounted these turbos, they're just mounted at a little bit too much of an angle, and they're oiling back and they're not going down to the return line and back to the pump, scavenging the pump there. So we're gonna make some adjustments there. We just don't have a lot of real estate up front here or on the side right here by the firewall with the master cylinder. And then we got the steering column there, down in there as well. You can see it there. And then obviously these strut support bars are, you know, some added obstacles. But also too, when we did this, it was all fairly new to us when we were building these headers. So we hope and think that maybe we can make it work, and we're hoping maybe we can kind of turn them down and just put the hot side kind of more out here and straddle this strut support bar. We'll see what happens there, and then we're gonna pull these collectors and actually go with a shorter collector, which once again, that's just all being green there and not necessarily knowing, you know, what products are readily available and the differences. Obviously, I knew there were differences, but New Burns was great. It had some great products, just the collector's a little bit longer. So we might be switching that up. I don't know. Quite a few things that we're going to dive into. We've already pulled the radiator out, so we've got plenty of added room up there. But yeah, so quite a bit to change. I'm hoping if we do this turbo the way that, if it works out the way that I would like for it to, we would like for it to, we're hoping that we can get that tight radius, and we might have to do quite a few different little pie cuts for these exits. But if we're going to continue to run turbos, I really want to keep the bullhorns. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at on this, and that's kind of all the added changes. Oh, we gotta add a little additional support in here. I'm just gonna put some plates up on top and bottom of the center here. Just gonna make some chromoly plates, weld them onto the top and bottom there, just for my added support, because there's a lot of torque right there on that chassis in that specific area, so there is potential for cracks and breaks and things like that. So just gonna put a little additional support. So as y'all can see, quite a few things that we got to update, quite a few things that we got to change, and you know, a little bit of an expense, time consuming, once again a little bit a tough pill to swallow, but either way, the most important thing is that this thing's safe, and we're able to get everything out of it that we can. And you know, maybe this year, maybe this fall, I'll get it out a little bit so we can get our feet wet, but with all those changes and things that we're gonna have to be doing to it, we also would like to get out from underneath some of the stuff that we already have, so and get a few of our dollars back, if you will. So we'll see what happens, but do want to play around with the car a little bit this fall, and we'll share that with y'all. But next year's probably going to be the big year for us. So but either way, with that, we were still able to and going to do the reveal on Saturday, July 16th. So rolling into that day, on Thursday actually, you know, we'd driven the car, put it in gear, put it in reverse, actually put it on the step, ran through the tune-up, pulled some fuel out of it, so on and so forth, and everything was fine. And got it back to the house, people started showing up, and you know, we had roughly 30 to 40 people there at the time. You know, cooked lunch, everything was going great, and you know, roughly 2:30 rolled around, and it was time to do the reveal. And we took the car down to the street, and everybody transferred everybody down there, and I came down in the car, stopped, started the car, put a little heat in it, and put it in gear, and drove it probably 200 to 300 feet, pulled in a drive there, and put the car in reverse, hit the button, and I had nothing. So I get out, and I'm running through stuff, looking at the line lock, looking at the trans brake wiring, stuff like that, in hopes that something may have wiggled loose or something along those lines, and everything was fine. So I hopped back in the car and started it back up, hit the button, and it rolled back just a little bit, and then everything went away again. So my dad was there, a couple other guys, and I had them roll me back and told them to roll me up, throw the water down, and I was going to put it in gear, start it up, put it in gear, and if it went, I was going to send it. So started the car up, put it in gear, once again, nothing. So at this point, you know, I'm frustrated, irritated, disappointed, a little mad, and mainly I'm embarrassed. You know, there's 30 to 40 people watching, and some of which had driven, you know, 5.5+ hours to see this, and it didn't go the way that we wanted it to go. And you know, we knew, my wife and I already knew what we were having, but we wanted to share it with everybody else, all our friends and family, and it just didn't go the way that we had wanted. And at the time, I'm just, you work on something for so long, and I know with this hot rod, things are going to break, things are going to go wrong, we're going to have problems, we're going to have to fix stuff, and that's okay, that's a part of it. But my frustration came with not only just being embarrassed, but I want to use the car. You work on something for so long and you don't get to use it, and you're already making changes, things are breaking, the Thursday prior, just all that stuff thrown at you, and it's frustrating. And honestly, at the end of the day, probably 75% of the people that were there really didn't even know that anything had gone wrong, and just because of the way that we had set it up. So to kind of run through that and the way that we set it up, we didn't do it the normal way. As you can see here, I actually mounted some smoke bombs, utilizing all thread through the 4-link, and we ran a cable out the back, and Dad was gonna pull the cable and the smoke was gonna start, and once that smoke started, I was gonna do a burnout and throw the smoke around the tires, because it just didn't feel comfortable, throwing powder down. My first burnout, and the first burnout in this car, and my first burnout being on the street, we just didn't know how the car was going to react. So I felt that was the safest way. And once again, like I had stated, 75% of the people probably didn't even know anything was wrong. But I'm just frustrated at this point. And we pull the car back up to the house, put it away, and I'm frustrated, but we have some friends and family there, and ourselves celebrated, and had a few drinks, and a couple friends actually stayed around a little bit later, and we actually ended up going to a race that night, and came back to the house and hung out for a little bit longer. And then Sunday rolls around, and I wake up, and I'm super bummed. I didn't want anything to do with the car, didn't want to look at the car, I was supposed to take the car back to the shop, and I didn't even want to do that. So didn't touch it. Monday rolls around, and I'm even more bummed. I'm at work at this point, and I'm just bummed, honestly, and like I'd stated, embarrassed, and still questioning why and what's going on, and should I be doing this? There's times where you just want to throw up that white flag and walk away, and for me, I can't ever tell my mind to do that, and I won't ever tell my mind to do that, but it's still super irritating and frustrating. So I'm actually at a job that I originally didn't even plan on going to, and I sat down, and I'm actually talking to one of our interns who walks with God every day and is extremely invested in his faith, and we just started talking about stuff, and man, it's really cool to see, because he's a really young cat, and he's in college right now, and there's no place that has more temptation and honestly evil just lurking and drumming on those strings in your heart, and it's just really cool to see somebody that young walking with God the way that he does. And we were just talking, and the reveal got brought up, because they knew that we were going to be doing a reveal that week, and they knew we were going to be doing a reveal that week, and they were asking how things went, and we just started talking once again about everything that went down, and faith and everything like that. And just in that conversation, I kind of started thinking, maybe obviously the good Lord was telling me that this is not the time and place to be doing a first burnout. Something else could go wrong, something could go bad. But then just within that conversation, I started to think a little bit deeper, and kind of came to the conclusion that it was more than that. If you rewind probably, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, my wife and I lived back in Iowa. She actually worked for a church at the time, and we had never been closer to God than at that time in our life. And just so happy. And I'd walk around the job site or just at home and just randomly start smiling, just because everything that we have is such a blessing, and this world and this life is a blessing, but we tend to get caught up very, very easily. And when we moved back down here to Missouri, everybody dealt with it, everybody went through it, but COVID had hit. We hadn't really reestablished ourselves, and I'm not saying at that time I didn't have a relationship with God, but it wasn't as strong as it once was. It wasn't as strong as a short time ago. And what I realized is that this is all a test. He's watching every day, and he knows what's going to transpire and what's going to take place over time. And at that point in time, what he was doing was he was testing me. He's always there. His hands are always out. His arms are always open. And my relationship wasn't where it once was, and he is kind of testing me and asking me, what's more important here? Is it this car that you put all your time and effort and money into it, or is it our relationship? Right? I was caught up. I was caught up in all that was going on, and it's not just the car. There's other things that take place in our lives, and I'm not going to get into that and everything like that, and the things that I've encountered over the past couple of years. Things can always be worse, and it's just I have a blessed life, and some amazing people in my life, and I have zero complaints. But once again, we just get tied up. There's so much around us in this world. There's so much evil and things that come up, and things that try to pull our focus away from the most important thing, and that's our relationship with God. And that's really what it came down to for me, is just coming to that realization that he's sitting there testing, saying, hey, you got to remember what's more important here, and that's our relationship. And you're not where you once were, and I will guide you through this journey, not just with everyday life, but with this car. I will guide you through it. You just have to rely on me and trust in me and ask me and talk to me. And I read scripture. I talk to God every day, but at the end of the day, I don't practice and I don't focus the way that I did, and there needs to be a change, and there needs to be improvements made. And it was just so cool. And when I came to that realization, man, it just led to so many other things. Hopefully by this time in the video I've already shown some of the clips and pictures of the reveal, but once again, there's just it led to so many other things. My wife and I are having a little girl, and I've got an amazing wife, an amazing family, and I've got a good job. I've got great friends, great support line. I'm able to put food on the table. I'm able to eat myself. I'm able to drive. I'm able to have a hobby like this. And man, there's just so much more to this life, and so much to be thankful for. And once again, we've got to do our best to stay away from all that temptation and evil, and just be blessed. Each and every one of us can get angry or frustrated or upset at any point or time. I mean, you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, or maybe you go run through a fast food restaurant, you ordered a burger with no lettuce on it, and you open it up, it's got lettuce on it, and you're frustrated. It's just like, man, really? We should all be blessed that we have the opportunity to drive a vehicle. We have the opportunity to go to that restaurant and buy that food. It's so great. And man, you could each and every day is so much easier and so much better when you can be thankful. I've been reading some daily devotionals, and of course, like always, the last two that I read just hit home so hard with just this little period in life here that I've gotten caught up in, and I'll share it with you here. Originally, I was going to read each devotional, but from a video time's sake and honestly a literacy perspective, I decided to challenge you to pause the video, take a couple seconds, and read each devotional. It's pretty cool to see how each message fits perfectly with the situation, mindset, and message I'm trying to share. For me, it really drives home giving everything to God, not questioning His plan, and knowing He's always with you. He's got an answer for everything. And, you know, all this stuff that's going on in this world, and once again, all these things that are trying to pull us down, there's an answer for everything, and we just have to invest ourselves, and, you know, we can overcome anything in this world, in this life, and this is just a small portion of things. There's so much more out there that's so much more important, and you know, with that, I think you know, there's a lot more that you can talk about and discuss, but for time's sake and video's sake, it's mainly what I wanted to share with everybody, and just kind of how that opened my eyes. And you know, if you take anything from it, the 2 points that I would like you to take from it is just, first and foremost, is just rely on Him. You know, invest yourself in Him, and know that there are more important things out there, and we're all blessed, and we all have an opportunity, and anything that we go through is not tough for Him, and He will guide you. You just got to take that leap. His arms are open. His hand is there. We just have to embrace ourselves with Him and grab that hand and walk with Him. And then secondly, have those conversations. That conversation that I had, and I'm not telling anybody on here to be a Bible thumper. It can be a tough conversation nowadays. We've never been further away from the most important thing in this life, and that's our relationship with Him. But there are ways that we can have those conversations without being too forceful and making things uncomfortable. And that was a conversation that I had with our intern. Is just, you know, sometimes those conversations can be tough, but you know, at the end of the day, you can just have a positive conversation with someone, and when you're done with that conversation, just leave with that little hint. Hey, you know where that positivity comes from? That comes from my relationship with God. Or, you know, there's many different ways that you can kind of finagle your way through that while also having an impact on someone. And, you know, who knows? Maybe that individual just hasn't had that avenue to invest themselves, and they're just nervous. They don't have someone in their life to, you know, hop on that bandwagon with God and their, he or she's relationship with Him. So be that person, you know, have that conversation, and you know, you may change someone's life right then and there. Just that conversation that I had on Monday was, man, it was just like, it was an eye-opener for both of us, and we were just talking. We weren't trying to come to any conclusion or anything like that. It was just, it was so cool because I was opening his eyes to things while he was also opening my eyes to things. And man, it was just, it was so fun, and it was really cool. And you know, from that point on, and I know it's only been a few days since I've had that conversation, but man, I've already felt so much weight off my shoulders, so much relief and enjoyment and appreciation. And I'm just so excited to see where this goes and get back on that track. And once again, like I said, I hadn't lost my relationship with him. It just wasn't as strong as I wanted it to be. And you know, I want this channel to be positive and hopefully, you know, help somebody along the way, even if it's one person. You know, we have done our part at that point, and changed someone's life for the better. So just super excited to see where all this goes. The last thing I want to leave you all with is hopefully in this video, and if not, we're just going to conclude here. But hopefully in this video we're going to come to a resolution on the car and figure out why it wouldn't go into gear, why it wouldn't go into reverse. And I think that maybe we have a hunch after having a conversation with Larry. Hopefully it is what we think that it might be, but if it's not, we probably won't even include it in the video unless we can get to it before we roll this video out. So either way, stay tuned for just a little bit longer, and hopefully we'll be sharing that portion. But either way, thanks once again for tuning in. Appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in for every video, and for those of you new to the channel, welcome on. And we hope you enjoy all the videos, and once again ask that you guys and gals like, subscribe, hit that little notification button, and share the channel. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. God bless. Alright, it's been a beautiful Sunday morning. As y'all can see, we got the hot rod back up and going. It actually wasn't what we originally thought it was going to be, or were, I guess, not necessarily thought it was going to be, but hoping it would be. We were actually hoping that somehow the filter or something like that worked itself loose in the pan there. But once we got the pan pulled off, everything looked pretty good. Fluid looked good. Obviously your normal new wear, but other than that, everything looked pretty good. So I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. Originally, and I can't really flip this screen around, so originally when we put this converter in, we had a few problems with getting this thing to actually seat all the way into the transmission, and we had this transmission sitting on the tail and putting all our weight on it, and taking a rubber mallet and actually trying to beat it in, and it just seemed that it was all the way. So long story short, we had some stuff go down with this transmission. It was actually set up originally for a lockup converter, and we had to do some work on the transmission to get the normal converter to fit. Either way, that's kind of a story for another time, and I don't know, maybe I've actually already shared that with y'all before this video. But either way, we couldn't get this thing to seat all the way in, and they come with these little cleats. We had to put a spacer on this converter because of that lockup situation that we had originally, and they had these little cleats, which I call them cleats, I don't know exactly what they call them, but these little cleats here that were on that spacer. And when you put this converter in, you're actually supposed to have roughly an 1/8 inch of play prior, maybe a little bit more, so before you actually suck it up to the flex plate, the flywheel there. So originally we couldn't get this this converter to go all the way back, so we actually removed these cleats, and everything was working fine. Obviously we drove it a little bit here and there, but not too much. And now I don't know what exactly happened, but we pulled the converter back out, put these cleats back on, because we noticed when we went to unhook the transmission, this converter actually slid back right around 1/2 inch. So put those cleats back on, got pretty dang close to that 1/8 inch, tightened her back up, and as y'all saw, she's back up and running. So yeah, pretty exciting, and hopefully we have resolved all the issues there and we can move on to the next. So Glad to actually be able to post this in the video. Like I said, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to or not. If we didn't find out the problem, we we're just going to conclude. So either way, once again, just want to remind everybody, and I know I've already stated it, but thanks for tuning in. Please, like always, like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you will, we greatly appreciate it. Hit that little notification button, and we'll see you on the next one. So thanks for tuning in. God bless.